When two absolute giants of the heavyweight division clash, you generally expect a pure, chaotic slugfest, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into how Evander Holyfield turned what everyone expected to be a brutal brawl into a highly calculated masterclass to defeat the legendary Mike Tyson. As the source material breaks down, Holyfield stepped into that ring equipped with a high-speed ring intelligence that completely dismantled Tyson's strategy, neutralizing his insane power, and, maybe more importantly, taking away his mental edge. Throughout his career, Tyson literally won fights before the opening bell even rang, just because his opponents were terrified of him. But as the announcer specifically pointed out right at the start of this bout, quote, "There was no intimidation factor here whatsoever." Holyfield stepped through those ropes and instantly took the fight directly to Tyson, acting exactly like the overachieving warrior he was always known to be. He wasn't overly cautious, he didn't try to run. By standing his ground and fighting a fiercely disciplined fight, Holyfield completely erased that famous aura of invincibility before Tyson could land a single effective punch. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to break down the exact strategic pillars Holyfield used to systematically dismantle a legend. First up, defensive tactics and smothering. Then, the counterpunching masterclass. Third, forcing the puncher's mistake. And finally, physical and mental attrition. Let's get right into phase 1, defensive tactics and erasing the space. Okay, so Tyson fights at this frantic pace, and he relies heavily on closing the distance just enough to unload his absolutely devastating combinations. Holyfield knew, without a doubt, that if he gave Tyson that specific, comfortable range, it was going to be a very short night. His primary tool to stop this? A technique called smothering. Basically, this means strategically getting too close to your opponent. The commentators noticed this right out of the gate, pointing out that Holyfield was actively moving inside to smother Mike, preventing him from throwing his leverage-heavy shots. He forced this really uncomfortable inside wrestling match and simply did not let Tyson do any of the bullying. It's fascinating to look at the stark contrast between Tyson's desired fighting environment and the claustrophobic reality Holyfield forced onto him. Tyson needs just a bit of space to plant his feet, get his leverage, and throw those clean inside hooks, especially his signature left hook. But Holyfield imposed a style built entirely on close quarters. And when Tyson actually did manage to fire off that wild left hook, Holyfield showed incredible defensive awareness. The commentators explicitly highlight moments where Tyson's left hook was entirely blocked by Holyfield just using his shoulder as a shield. It was a brilliant move that completely shut down Tyson's most dangerous attacks. Let's look at how this smothering strategy fed directly into his disciplined head movement, which not only kept him safe, but frankly created total chaos in the ring. Holyfield was constantly reading Tyson's offense. Step 1, he'd anticipate Tyson's massive straight right hand. Step 2, the second it came, Holyfield ducked directly underneath it. And step 3, he made sure to keep his head lowered, consciously staying down, so he wouldn't catch a follow-up shot with his chin hanging in the air. Now, the crucial thing here is that ducking those punches wasn't strictly defensive, it had a major physical consequence. Because Holyfield was constantly bringing his head down and pushing inside, it resulted in these accidental, incredibly violent clashes of heads. The commentators even noted how their heads were just banging one into another. These headbutts actually physically hurt Tyson, catching him right on the temple, and they completely derailed his attack plan. It severely disorganized his rhythm and kept him entirely out of his intended technical approach. Moving right along to phase 2, the counterpunching masterclass. This is where Holyfield starts using Tyson's own aggression against him. Having established that defensive wall and raced the space, Holyfield definitely didn't just sit back. He flawlessly transitioned into making Tyson pay for every single mistake. He didn't just survive the onslaught, he turned Tyson's aggression into a massive liability. As the sources point out, Holyfield was constantly looking to counterpunch off of Tyson's swinging misses. Every single time Tyson overextended with a wild hook or straight right, Holyfield was right there to punish him. On top of that, Holyfield was flashing some seriously superior hand speed. Even while smothering Tyson, he'd unleash these rapid multi-punch combinations, left hooks, straight rights, digging deep to the body. This volume and accuracy entirely flipped the script and forced Tyson onto the defensive. And honestly, this is where the strategy becomes almost poetic. Holyfield frequently landed this absolutely devastating right uppercut to catch Tyson as he tried to aggressively move inside. The commentators specifically call out that the right uppercuts landing flush on Tyson were the exact same punches that Tyson himself was famous for. By weaponizing this specific punch, Holyfield wasn't just doing physical damage, he was asserting massive psychological dominance.
Which brings us to phase 3, the puncher's mistake and breaking the game plan.
You can imagine that all of this smothered defense, the shoulder blocks, the accidental head clashes, and the relentless counterpunching eventually just broke Tyson's tactical discipline. As his flurries continuously hit nothing but air, the announcers noted a very visible shift in Tyson's whole demeanor. They actually observed, quote, "Tyson is confused, frustrated." He'd unleash a massive flurry, hit nothing but shoulders, and then Holyfield would snap right back with a counter to the head. Tyson just couldn't find his distance, he couldn't bully his opponent, and you could see the frustration visibly mounting. And that frustration led Tyson straight into what boxing folks call the puncher's mistake. Basically, this is when a fighter abandons their disciplined combinations because they're frustrated, and instead, they desperately start looking for one single massive knockout shot to end it all. The announcers noted that Tyson desperately needed to get back to fighting with combinations, throwing 1, 2, 3 punches at a time, but he abandoned that entirely. He just started wailing away, headhunting for that one big shot, and that made him entirely predictable, allowing Holyfield to read his desperate attacks from a mile away and counter them with even more precision.
And finally, phase 4, the breakdown. Let's look at the physical and mental attrition. If we chart Tyson's decline throughout the fight, we see a really dramatic shift. In the early rounds, it was the typical Tyson we all expected, an aggressive, incredibly powerful attacker looking to end the night quickly. But as Holyfield's constant pressure, body shots, and insanely accurate punching started to take their toll, everything changed. By round 7, commentators noted the aggressive animal was gone, completely replaced by a guy who was operating purely on sheer instinct. As they dragged into the late rounds, the fighter who looked worn and exhausted was Tyson. He was no longer throwing combinations. He was just trying to survive the sheer volume of accurate punches Holyfield kept landing. By the end of the bout, the accumulation of precise counters and defensive smothering left Tyson completely depleted. As the final flurry of hooks, right hands, and uppercuts rained down, the commentators perfectly captured the absolute finality of Holyfield's strategy. They said, "Mike not only hurt, but just too tired to continue." Holyfield hadn't just beaten him to the punch. He had literally drained the energy and the will right out of him.
So I really hope this explainer leaves you thinking about the profound impact of tactics and preparation, especially in the face of raw, overwhelming power. Evander Holyfield faced a titan that terrified the entire world. But by eliminating fear, erasing space, utilizing a brilliant counterpunching game, and forcing his opponent into a tactical meltdown, he achieved the impossible. It just goes to show us that when you're up against seemingly insurmountable power, high-speed ring intelligence and a fiercely disciplined strategy truly are the ultimate equalizers. Thanks so much for joining me for this breakdown.